Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of my childhood stories video. If you didn't have a chance to watch the video from last week, please go back and watch it. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. There's lots of funny childhood stories about things that happened to me regarding my artificial leg when I would play sports or do activities, and some pretty embarrassing moments. So I'm just gonna continue right on, kind of fill you in on pranks I used to play with my friends when I was a kid and things I used to do with my artificial leg to try and win and get a leg up, if you will, during some games. So you can't blame me. Grab some popcorn, grab a snack, grab a soda, get comfy while you listen to the next set of childhood games and stories I'm about to share with you. I hope you enjoy. Another game that my friends and I would play at sleepovers was a game called Blind Man's Bluff. And how that game worked is we would put blindfolds on one person, and then everybody else would find a spot in the dark house. We would turn off all the lights, and it was usually kept to like 1 or 2 rooms. All the kids who were not blindfolded would then find one spot in the room, and they had to sit there and stay there, and they weren't allowed to move. And then the person who had the blindfold, they had to basically walk around and trying to find each person. It was just a fun game we played, but I did used to take advantage of it. And there were times when the poor person who was blindfolded had no idea, but I would take my leg off and I would put it like in the middle of the room, or I would put it sort of near me so that they would trip over it before they actually found me, and then it would usually be a distraction. So yeah, my friends ended up having to make up rules just for me because I did take advantage of the fact that I had an artificial leg. They made up a whole set of rules of things I was no longer allowed to do. I'm actually gonna read them to you. So this is an excerpt from my book. So because I abused the powers of my artificial leg, my friends had to start making up a whole new set of rules just for me when we would play games. Number 1, no hiding your leg separately from yourself during hide and seek. Because I did that too. During Blind Man's Bluff, you cannot place your leg in the middle of the room where someone might trip on it. I cannot play rock, paper, scissors with my right hand due to manipulating the scissors and the paper to my advantage. And last but not least, during any kind of relay race, I was no longer allowed to take my leg off and throw it across the finish line to make myself the winner. What can I say? You gotta do what you gotta do. And again, I hated running. Throwing the leg was so much easier. Those were some fun childhood memories, but the best one I think of all is I used to love teepeeing houses. And if I had a slumber party, everybody that came to the slumber party knew that we would always sneak out at night and go teepeeing houses. Now, my dad was a cop. There was a whole slew of things that I was not allowed to do. He never said I couldn't go teepeeing houses. We would always, in the middle of the night, get up. I think we would usually go out around midnight, 1, sometimes 2 in the morning. Sometimes we would fall asleep and then get up and then leave to go teepee. So there would be a group of us and we would just comb the neighborhood and we'd pick a house and then we would just teepee it. We'd probably use like 10 rolls of toilet paper, and it was so much fun. So I was teepeeing houses for years and years before we actually ever got caught. Now, sometimes cars would drive by, but we would run and jump in bushes or hide in the dark until they passed, and then we would come out. And usually that would scare us and we would run home and go back to bed. But there was one time we had snuck out and I was in junior high. We had gone teepeeing in the middle of the night, and we had gone to a different part of my neighborhood that we hadn't been before, and we had teepeed this house like amazing. So this Jeep comes by, and as we see him coming, we dive into bushes, we're hiding. Well, he stops in front of the house and he's yelling at us, and he's like, I see you in the bushes, you need to come out. You know, please don't make me come out of the car and come get you. Why don't you just come out? And so we slowly crept out of the bushes and from where we were hiding, and he points at this other house over there and he says, just do me a favor, don't ever TP that house over there. So I'm like, okay, fair enough, we won't. Well, that scared us enough. We ran all the way back to my house and ran inside, locked the door, and then went to bed. So I am waiting at the bus stop the following week, probably like Wednesday or a Thursday, because I had kind of forgotten about TPing that weekend. So I'm waiting at the bus stop with all these other kids, and the vice principal of the school pulls up and stops by the bus stop, and she sees me sitting there and she's like, hey, Tina, do you wanna ride to school today? And I'm like, sure. Like, any chance to not have to ride the bus was golden. So I was like, yes, I would love a ride to school, thank you. So I grab my backpack and I get in her car. We're driving to school, and she says, so I heard that you met my son this weekend. And I'm thinking, what? Like, I didn't meet anybody. And she's like, yeah, you met my son over the weekend, late at night. And I am literally racking my brain because I didn't party. I was not cool, so I wasn't invited to those parties. But I'm thinking, I never went anywhere that I would have met a guy late at night. And so I'm sitting there like totally baffled. And I tell her, you have to be confusing me for somebody else. Like, I know I didn't meet anybody this weekend. And we're driving, she starts laughing and she goes, Tina, how many kids out there have an artificial leg and go TP houses? And I was like, oh my God. Then it all came back to me. I remembered the Jeep. I remember him telling us not to TP that house. And so I just start laughing. I'm like, oh my God, that was your son. And she was laughing so hard. And she's like, yeah, I wouldn't have known who it was at all, except for he said she had an artificial leg. And I was like, dang it. My leg gave me away. Had I been wearing pants that night, I probably wouldn't have gotten caught. Anyway, the funny thing about that story and her is that years later, I'm married and I'm waitressing at a restaurant. She comes in with her husband and her friends at this restaurant I'm waitressing at. And she just tells everybody how I was the neighborhood TPer and I would go around with all my friends TP houses. And how my artificial leg gave me away. And that's how I got caught. So anyway, fun times, good memories. I wish not everybody had Ring cameras nowadays, because I told my kids TPing houses was like one of the funnest things that we ever did. And it's a bummer that they really can't do that anymore. People, they call the cops on the smallest things, and then everybody's got cameras everywhere. So they just can't enjoy that kind of fun anymore, which is sad to me because those were some of my best memories as a teenager. Tune in next week for more content and more stories about my leg. Thank you for coming along with me and listening to my stories about my childhood games, my childhood antics, and for just having fun with me today, reminiscing about good times. So if you liked what you heard, please like and subscribe down below. Please comment. Please let me know what you enjoyed. Please let me know if you have any funny childhood stories. If you have a prosthetic and you had funny things that you did with your leg when you were a kid, I would love to hear those as well. So please comment down below. Thank you so much for watching Tina's Leg, where every day is leg day.